Hello, and welcome to Music Box Designs from the Listening Room. My name is Phil, co-owner, co-founder of Music Box Designs, and we have a very exciting edition of our From the Listening Room. Last night, I spent the better part of the evening listening to my brand new copy of the reissue of the Beatles' iconic red and blue albums, 50th anniversary editions, I believe. Interesting note before we get into it, these compilations behind me, the red and the blue, as they've come to be known, were actually put together by Alan Klein, sort of at the tail end of his tenure, working with the Beatles. It was his idea to do these. I don't know if the Beatles were fully on board with it, and they wound up becoming the gateway for most people to discover the Beatles. That's really how I discovered the scope, the breadth of their work, as it were. They're amazing compilations spanning most of their career, most of the styles. The reissues, both the red and the blue, do contain an extra album. So now instead of a double album, they're triple albums. And they expand upon the scope of their work even more. And more importantly, they get some George Harrison solo songs in there. Taxman. If I Needed Someone, his amazing cover of Roll Over Beethoven is also included on the red on the extra disc. Very, very special, of course. But the main thing that was exciting to me for the red album is because prior to yesterday, the world has not been able to hear remix versions that Giles Martin has been doing, the remix projects of the Beatles. So far, we have Sgt. Pepper, the White Album, Abbey Road, Let It Be, and working backwards, Revolver, which came out not that long ago, I believe. But prior to that, we've heard nothing. Rubber Soul, Help, Beatles for Sale, Hard Day's Night, With the Beatles, Please Please Me. You guys all know all the albums. And so finally, we're able to hear tracks prior to Revolver in the remix format, using, of course, Peter Jackson's technology so that Giles, who can take 4-track tapes of the Beatles when they recorded originally, where they would have drums, background noises, bass, perhaps on one track. Now he can separate all those elements, put them in separate tracks, and mix the way a modern recording studio would. I do realize that there are many people out there that find this to be heresy. You're tampering with things. And fine, part of me, at first, I think may have thought that too, and I understand that point of view, but I feel like you're missing out on an experience, particularly the experience of, hearing the Beatles in Technicolor, because that's what it sounds like to me. I did go back and listen to my older edition of the Red album after I listened to the new recording, and there's just no comparison in the sound. I mean, you put on the new mix, which is right here, I'll get it, the new mixes, and it's just huge. It's like hearing, in a way, these songs for the first time. And I'm not exaggerating by saying that. I was genuinely moved by the power of some of these songs, particularly some of the heavier songs that sound twice as heavy. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about uh, Drive My Car, Day Tripper, I Feel Fine, Ticket to Ride, amazing song. I mean, there was nothing that didn't blow me away, but it was like, wow, I never heard, Ringo so powerful. I love Ringo Starr, as many Beatle fans obviously do, but you could really hear like what a musical, in the pocket, incredible drummer he was, doing unique things that I don't think most drummers would approach some of the songs that way. So Giles Martin did an outstanding job, and if for no other reason, that's the why. I think this album is something that everybody will embrace, and for those that never heard the original mixes, that's what they'll grow up on, and they'll just assume, man, the Beatles are like proto-punk band. Tomorrow Never Knows is included here, so they're really going to get the sense of it's one of the added songs on the third disc. They did a great job because it goes up to Revolver now, not just Yellow Submarine, which may have been the only song, or Here, There, and or Eleanor Rigby and Yellow Submarine were the only songs included on the original release. Now you have I'm Only Sleeping, you have Taxman, Tomorrow Never Knows, Got to Get You Into My Life. I mean, that's more, I think, gives a truer version of the Beatles' career. So they give you like what the Beatles could do probably from their cavern days when they were doing covers and their inspiration with Motown, Chuck Berry, and then you get the most contemporary of contemporary tracks that I think people are still trying to keep up with or still are influenced by. Tomorrow Never Knows, which was on the Revolver reissue that came out not too long ago. But hearing it here, brought a smile to my face because it deserves to be in a compilation so that a newcomer can say, "Oh wow, the Beatles did this too." From Love Me Do to Tomorrow Never Knows in a span of 4 years. It's insane. And I know Beatle fans out there know it's insane, but when you really think about it, from 4 years to go from Love Me Do to Tomorrow Never Knows, it's mind-boggling, the creativity and the level of expertise in the studio that George Martin, Jeff Emmerich had the foresight to let these guys, the Beatles, just play and do their thing. And it all came together. And it's unbelievable. So we'll keep it short. I highly recommend this. Um, I got the edition that came with both albums simultaneously. You save a little money. Here's a little box that it comes in, a little keepsake. I paid 150 euro. I believe I saved like 10 euro rather than buying them individually where I purchased them. Perhaps it's cheaper. I don't know. For the holidays, for kids that don't know the Beatles, buy it. They'll want it. They'll love it. They'll treasure it the way millions of other people around the world have treasured these compilations for 50 years. Um, for people that already have the red and the blue, if you can afford it and you're curious to get it, I definitely recommend getting it. It is an entirely new experience. I listened to all 6 sides yesterday in one sitting. It was special. I listened to it with my daughter. She's 16, and even she, longtime Beatles fan, she's like, this just every song she said, this sounds different, this sounds incredible. And it is different, but it's still the same spirit of the original albums. And that's the wonderful thing that Giles Martin did too. He retained the integrity of these recordings and didn't start putting things that didn't exist at the time. I'm sure it was under the watchful eye of Paul McCartney and Ringo to say, is this right? And he nailed it, I believe he's been nailing all of the reissues. I think they sound great. I think it's wonderful that we're still talking about this music 60 years after some of it was recorded. What other band can you say that about, really? There's an audience still to keep reissuing, to keep remixing these things. I'm reminded, as an aside, of the new Replacements remixed album by Ed Stasium, the Tim album, which came out not too long ago. Another definitely worth buying, amazing sounding record, new experience for me. I'm a huge Replacements fan. And if you didn't have that, you're shortchanging the artist who clearly thought, I'm sure, Paul Westerberg, perhaps like Paul, said, hey, let's modernize this. Let's get it right, because they're monuments to music. These are songs that are never going to go away. So why not bring them into the 21st century? And yeah, go pick it up. I thank you for stopping by. I would love to hear what other people have to think about it too. So please write to us at musicboxdesigns@gmail.com. You can stop by our website at musicboxdesigns.com. And yeah, thank you again so much for taking the time to listen, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you.